welcome to Overcoming the Obstacles. Okay, this is our first live stream on this channel. I could not be more excited, so thank you all for coming out and hanging out with us. We have got a exciting guest who's going to come in just a minute. I sent her a link, and if you have not met Misty Knights, oh my gosh, you are in for a treat. So let me tell you, this is a new channel. This is a new live stream. I want to invite you to help us with this. And what I mean by help, share it, tweet it, tell your friends, tell all your friends about this. Because at one time or another, we all have an obstacle that we need to overcome. The best place, or one of the best places to get that encouragement is going to be right here on this channel. So make sure you all share it and tell others. We've got a couple of people in the chat room. I see Misty here. Let me type in a hello to her. And share it. Oh, we've got to tell others. Money Magnet is here. Hello. Okay, getting all set up. Woo! Sorry, rocking the computer there. I've been accused of rocking the computer before, so just bear with me. It can be kind of crazy. So, getting everything all set up. So excited about you being here. Like I said, Misty will be right here in just a minute. And it's going to get exciting. Oh, wait. Misty's here. Hello, Misty.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited about you being here today. I can't see straight. This is going to be great, like epic great. And so I'm so glad that you're here. You're our first guest, our first live streamer on this channel is you.
Hi, Moni. Is that how you say it? Your name, Monet?
Okay. Sometimes the chat takes just a minute to kind of update here. So there may be a lag. So while we're waiting on the lag on the YouTube channel to catch up, Misty, why don't you tell us just a little about yourself?
Okay. As far as just what I'm doing on YouTube, or just myself personally?
Life and whatever you want to talk about. YouTube, off YouTube, the color, the weather, the skies. So. Whatever you would like to discuss.
Okay. Well,
we keep it kind of loose. It's not formal here.
Okay, perfect. That's good, because I am totally not formal at all.
No, it's not formal.
As you can
Look
see,
at that big
I was
bag
cleaning
of
up back
garbage.
there. There's a bag back here. Excuse that.
Believe me, I know how it goes.
But
I just had FedEx here just like a minute ago.
Oh, you did? Yeah, FedEx is coming to pick up a package from me too.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to arrive tomorrow.
Okay.
You know how I sent out a packet, or I hope you got the packet, and in it I said things will happen, that somebody will come to the door, Publishers Clearinghouse will show up or whatever, and not to worry about it. I meant that literally.
Okay. Same here. But, okay, so a little bit about myself is basically, I am originally from Brooklyn, New York. That's basically where my whole family originates from. Now I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, because it's just cheaper living here.
Right.
You know, because it just gets to be expensive. It's to the point now where you can rent out a room in like a brownstone in Brooklyn, and it'll only be it'll be maybe about $1,500 for a room in a brownstone. So
yeah, and let me clarify. When you're talking about rooms in Brooklyn at that price, you're talking about a closet.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
So it's smaller than a regular room, and you're paying $1,500 for it. So there's no way that you could really survive up there. And actually, Brooklyn is a nice place, but I did start with a lot of struggles even when I was younger, because we weren't born with a silver spoon. Okay, so with that came a little bit of struggles. I'm not saying my mother wasn't a hardworking person, but there are times when you just can't help it. No matter how hard you work, you're still basically struggling to make ends meet.
And especially in a larger city. I mean, the cost of living is so high. And, you're talking about New York here. Forget it, girl.
Exactly. Let me tell you, we didn't have a car back then. And my parents were struggling to try to find work. So we basically, we had two grandmothers in New York. And I love my grandmothers to death. I'm not saying that. But we would stay there, and we would be waking up in the middle of the night, and they would be like, "You gotta go." And this would be like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know if you've ever been to New York, but the winters sometimes can be very brutal. So it would be snow on the ground and freezing out there. And and you have two adults with 2 kids walking the streets of Brooklyn in the snow with nowhere to go at night.
Ew.
Yeah.
And that would have to be doubly worse. I mean, because we all think of grandmothers as being these sweet, innocent people that are going to love us and help us no matter what. I think that's the general kind of persona, that stereotype there.
Yeah, it really is. And neither one was like that. My grandmother on my mother's side learned that later on when she had to actually move out to the island, because eventually what we had to do when we realized that we couldn't really survive in Brooklyn, because we couldn't keep going ping-ponging from one grandmother's house to other, walking the streets of New York. It's just, and sometimes when we would be walking as kids with my father, we would actually see heroin addicts with needles. There was a woman between 2 cars that overdosed, and she had the needle next to her, and she was literally laying there.
What a thing to see as a kid.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and my parents were working very hard to get us out of the boroughs. Okay, we moved around different boroughs even before we moved out to the island, because what happened was they were like, well, we can't raise our kids in Brooklyn, so let's try another borough. So we tried Queens for a while, and then we tried Staten Island, until they eventually said, let's just go to the islands and see what's going on there. But you already know the island is even more expensive than the boroughs. Okay, so we basically lived in a wealthier hotel for a while until we could get on our feet. It was called Colonial Motel.
Okay, let me explain to people who may not be familiar with it. But in New York, we're not necessarily talking about 5-star hotels with breakfast and silver-plated utensils or even styrofoam. A lot of people have to live in hotels, and it's just a thing of life up there. So when she says hotel, don't think about 5 stars and heated indoor swimming pools, okay?
No, it was nothing like that.
I just wanted to clarify that, Misty.
No, I'm glad that you did, because it was, okay, Colonial Motel, for someone who's never been to New York and on Long Island there, it is basically how do I explain this? It's like a 1-level building, and then it has sections off where there's like little cubits. So there's small rooms, each separating.
Right.
Like you said, there's no luxuries. There was no swimming pools. There was no 5-star, nothing. We were basically living right on top of each other there. And then you would get, I think churches or someone would come by with hot meals in the evening, and they'd knock on the door and they'd say, dinner's ready, dinner's ready. and then you would go out there to see what.
That was nice, though, to have that kind of sharing and camaraderie.
Yeah, that was pretty nice, but some of the food was not that good. You know, some of it tastes like garbage, really. And so,
Oh no! But that makes sense, though. I mean, not everybody cooks the same.
we're not formal here, right? So I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of it was horrible, you know. But
I'm sure. Hey, hold on a second. Let me just say hi to Patricia and It's Money in the chat. Welcome, both of you. And please, everyone, don't forget to give us a like. And we need your help to tell people about the channel. So, for Pete's sakes, please share it, tell people, tweet it, put it out on social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your favorite social media is, tell everybody about it. Because Misty's dynamite.
Oh, thank you. And hi, guys. Yeah, so it was just a struggle being there in the welfare hotel, and then the bus would come in front of the hotel, right?
Okay.
I don't know if it's motel, hotel, but it was, and everybody knew it was a welfare hotel, right?
Okay.
So the kids on the bus would always tease me. They were like, "Look at where you're coming from. You're coming from." But I wasn't dressed like. My mother always made sure that we were dressed right. So we had nice clothes.
That'll help you feel better about yourself. I think it also makes a difference in how people treat you, especially in that kind of situation.
Exactly. And so we were always dressed nice. My hair was always done. But the only thing is that they saw us coming from a welfare hotel. So there was one girl in particular that would always, she was older than me. I must have been about 7, so she was about 11 or 12, and she was bigger than me. I was really small girl back then, and she would just beat me up every day and rip my clothes just because I lived in that welfare hotel. And one day I just got tired of it, and I beat her from one end of the bus to the next, you know? And that was one of the obstacles.
I don't blame you. You know, I've always been of the opinion of give back like you get, and certainly in situations like that.
Yeah, you have to, because I got tired of it because she crashed me upside the head with a tin lunchbox, okay? And I said to myself, I'm tired of this girl ripping my clothes, and I'm basically tired of her, just sitting on me, stepping on my back. I mean, she did the most horrible things to me. And all because I was living in a welfare hotel. I mean, that's not something that I, as a 7-year-old, could have done anything about.
Wow, 7 years, really young.
Mm-hmm. And she was like 11 or 12, and she was bigger than me. But I have a bad temper, and I've always had a bad temper. So this day I was really tired of it. So, I beat her up pretty bad, and her parents had the nerve to come up to the school and complain because of the condition of their daughter. And
well, you know what it is. You know why they did that? It's probably because their angel could do nothing wrong.
Exactly. And that's what they said. Oh, she's a nice girl. She would never bully anyone. But my parents saw me coming in and day out with ripped up clothes from where this girl basically was torturing me every day. And to the point where I had to let her know what was going on and that I wasn't going to tolerate it. So, but after that, we did get on our feet as far as being able to get out of those situations and live in nicer areas. But later on in my teens, I did, deal with a bout of depression as well. And that it just comes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at what you just went through. I would think depression would be normal in that circumstance. And I have to applaud you for getting out, because that is, people who haven't been there don't understand what a huge, enormous feat that is. You're awesome, girl.
Oh, thank you so much. And I tried to, and my mother did try to do everything that she could to substitute for the fact that at that period in our life, we didn't have anything. So she was always making sure that we had clothes, that we had things that we needed. Even when she didn't have money, she would make sure that we still had allowances or something like that. So, it wasn't all doom and gloom, but it was pretty tough. Like I said, walking the streets of Brooklyn and then being in the welfare hotel. But when I was going through the depression, nobody really knows, because I'm the type of person where if I'm going through something, I don't tell people. I'm not a complainer. Okay. And this is one thing that a lot of people who know me and my family know, that I will suffer in silence because I don't want to burden anybody else with my issues.
Right. But, a lot of people, even if you were a complainer, that doesn't mean anybody would listen. In fact, I think sometimes people tune complainers out a little quicker.
I think so. So. Because then you're like, oh, this person's whining. Or have you ever heard of a person who just whines about the littlest things? Oh, I stubbed my toe, so they have to tell the world that they stubbed their toe and whine about it.
Not since this morning.
But
no, girl, I kid you not. You don't know how this morning's been. But yeah, totally get you.
I'm sure it is, girl, because I've had my mornings. This week has been, I'm telling you, it has been pretty busy this week. So, but you finally got some things together, right?
Right.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never been a complainer. I'm always the one where if it doesn't kill me, I'll get stronger from it, and I will work through it. And actually, the depression almost got me. Okay. But
keeping that positive mindset, just realizing that there's something bigger than what you're going through, even though I think that, everybody, and I certainly think in your case, depression would have to be normal. I really do. But it just seems like if you can realize that there's something out there that's bigger than you, it doesn't make the depression go away. But for me, it just helps.
Right.
What do you think?
I do think it does. And sometimes you have to hit rock bottom in order to understand the concept that you just said, that there's something out there more than just feeling down about yourself. Because when people say that they're depressed, that's something that I really don't play too much with, since I know how that felt. I don't struggle with it today, but it almost took me out of here, depression. And it's not something that I talk about a lot, but I did one day come home from school, got a bottle of pills, okay, and took it.
Gotcha.
All right.
Gotcha. That was brave to share.
Yep.
And I think probably hearing that, because obviously you lived through it, thankfully.
Yes. And it was actually, I say, the darkest time of my life. And I don't mind sharing it, because if it'll help somebody else, then I've done my job with sharing. And like I said, it's not easy to share, because people will be like, oh, you tried to do that? Take a bottle of pills? You're a lunatic. No, you're not.
But it's life, and it's real. And, we know you're not a lunatic. And just to be on here and share it. And people, if you are struggling with depression, get help. It's out there. I know that there can be a lot of obstacles to getting help. But there are hotlines, there are people, there are doctors, there are mental health pros, there are centers, there are private practices. Just basically, don't forget that help's out there. And don't forget, somebody cares, okay?
Yeah, and that's true, because at that point in time, I was like, nobody really listens to me. I don't really have a voice. And teenagers go through a lot anyway, okay? But sometimes you can get into your own head and think that nobody cares about you, not even the family that's around you, to the point where you're feeling like, you're so alone that maybe it's time to no longer be here. And that like I said, that was my darkest point. But thankfully, my father came into the room. He was like, something's going on, because I was just laying on the bed. And he was like, what's going on? And at that point, I couldn't comprehend much of anything, because I was hallucinating from those pills. And I don't even know what those pills were. I don't know if they were sleeping pills. I don't know. They were just a bottle of pills. And when I tell you hallucinations seem like they're real, I was seeing a crate that wasn't there and trying to sit on it. My head was spinning.
Wow.
Yes, they literally had to rush me to the hospital, get my stomach pumped, and I had to drink that nasty charcoal stuff.
Oh yeah, gotta love it. The charcoal cocktail.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it was horrible, and because and with that came another obstacle. Okay, that came. Are we allowed to also talk to people in the chat too?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I wanted to talk about what Monet said.
Please do. We've got several people in here. We've got 4 watching. We've got Money in here, the legendary YouTuber. We've had Patricia Sprinkles. Patricia, I'm not sure if you're still here or not, but hello and welcome. And we've got a couple of others, it looks like, watching. So please.
Okay, because I wanted to talk about what Monet said when she said depression is bad. When it hits, it blocks our minds completely. Absolutely.
It does.
You are absolutely right, Monet, when you say that, because at that point, it was blocking my mind completely. And the only thing that I could really focus on was actually the inner pain that I was feeling. Okay, I didn't stop to think that family members would be affected if I did this. I didn't stop to think that if I took my life, that, you know, my family would be in lifelong pain, or, you know, this was just a split decision. Is this something that I really wanted to do? It just blocked my mind completely to any rational thought.
But that's what depression does. I mean, it robs you of that. And we think we live in a vacuum, but after an experience like what you went through, you find out you don't, or hopefully you find out you don't.
Oh yes, because now here is how I overcame that obstacle. Because after they pumped my stomach and I drank some charcoal, I was able to. Well, they didn't want to have me leave the hospital. They had me, of course, on some suicide watch,
and that's reasonable.
Then they brought some psychiatrists in there, and they were like, "She's sane. She's just there's nothing wrong with her mentally. So let's let her go." So that's how I was able to get out of that. The next day, when I was at home from the hospital, I said to myself that I will never allow myself to get that down again, or to be that weak emotionally, that I will sink to suicidal thoughts again. And from that point on, and I was a teenager at that point, maybe about 15. Yes, I never did that again. So what that helped me to realize was that being a strong person and thinking through whatever negative thoughts that I may have is much more beneficial than allowing myself to just sink into the sadness and to the depression. Yes, and it helped me to become a stronger person, because now I deal with if I'm feeling inadequate or if I'm feeling a certain way, I know how to think my way through it. So it only made me a stronger person.
And I think that thinking your way through it is something that you don't know exists unless you've been there.
Exactly. And, at times you can feel yourself getting to a place where you're feeling sorry for yourself. I do not allow myself that. I do allow myself, if I'm in a situation or something has happened, I allow myself a certain time to feel upset about it. Once that has gone by, and it's not too long, I make sure that I'm past it now. That I think that I don't allow myself to feel bad for too long. So
Wow.
emotional, yeah.
That's profound.
Thank you, because anybody who now has any dealings with me, family, friends, or whatever, they all comment on how I have a strong inner strength, and that's something that has been built up over time because of what I've went through. Unless it's easy to judge somebody if you hadn't been in depression and if you hadn't tried to take your life, it is hard to understand the mindset of someone like that. This isn't something that I'm
Right.
embarrassed of.
Or, even if you've been in that kind of well of depression, I still think it's hard to understand because when you're going through it, the whole world is closing in on you. I mean, you just feel like you're the only one, and those walls are just shrinking in.
Mhm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it does feel that way. And it feels very lonely as well. And I just decided, I said, I'm never going to allow myself to get to that point. But then I didn't know how I was going to build that inner strength out. So I'm on a journey that I'm not sure how I'm going to go down this path. So I basically thought about how I can make myself stronger inwardly. Okay. And the best thing to do is try to keep all negativity out of my life. Anyone who I'm very sensitive to anything negative. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that I expect everybody to be positive 24/7 because I'm not.
Right.
If somebody comes at me the wrong way, I will still.
You got to keep it real.
Yes, I'll still tell people off, but I'm not going to sink myself in a cycle of negativity. You know how sometimes people just feast off of negativity 24/7. Everything they do, everything they say is negative.
Yeah, they do. And sometimes those people who are feeding off the negativity, they don't want to get well. They just want attention.
Yes, I've noticed that too. They just want attention. And so the attention, they don't care whether it's good attention or bad attention, they're going to feed off that. Me, because I know where I am mentally and emotionally, how I've strengthened myself over time. The reason I've done that is because I have been able to avoid a bunch of negativity. And if I have to be around negativity or people want to be negative around me, I'll shut down and I'll leave people alone. And I've done it. My family know that too. If they want to argue or something like that, I'm like, I'm out. And I will literally turn around mid what they're saying and I will walk away. Because I have to keep building myself up positively, and I'm never going to sink into a depression state again. And I think that a lot of times people who have these tendencies to constantly be negative also have the tendency to sink into depression as well, or feelings of inadequacy.
Yeah, and that may be where some of that comes from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do believe that as well. So I overcame that obstacle. And then later on in my life, I had to overcome basically the obstacle with my health. Okay, so it's been a straight 2 years. It has basically started in 2000, let's see, the end of 2016, early 2017, when I was just basically getting a whole lot of bleeding. It's like, yes, it was, my period.
That would be scary.
Oh, it was very scary because what happened was my period one day came normal. But then it lasted a month. a month of very, very heavy bleeding.
Yeah.
To the point where you could have several pads, even little towels and everything, and you'd still bleed through them.
Wow.
And I said to myself, what?
Did the doctors take you seriously?
Well, at first they didn't. Because they were like, well, it just could be an irregular period. Maybe you're changing your cycles. So I said to myself, I'm going to get rid of this doctor and I'm going to do my research and I'm going to get a better gynecologist. So I went ahead and got a better gynecologist, and he actually was able to take some scrapings and he told me that, oh, the uterine, the lining of your uterine is a little bit thick, And so I said, okay, all right, maybe I just need them to scrape it out. I said, but the bleeding is still very heavy, and I've never dealt with something like that before. I think it's something more. And he was like, no, that's what it is. But to me, I really wasn't buying.
The key word there may be he.
Huh?
The key word there may be he.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll never forget having my kids and my GYN, who was just like, I don't know, I think she hung the moon. Her husband was also in the practice. And she told me one time, we were talking about, of course, childbirth, and she said that her husband had been through a lot of deliveries, but he never had one. And I think that it makes a difference.
Exactly. No, that's true. That is true. But now I do have to test for one thing. He is a darn good gynecologist. Now, he may not have experienced it, and this is something that he said was a first for him, but he pulled through for me. And if I'm not born in, I'm going to tell you what happened. So what happened was I continued to bleed. One day I went to his office and I was padded to the nines. Okay, there's no way that blood should have seeped through. But I was sitting there and we were discussing it. And he was like, well, I think we need to have a minor surgery. We're going to do the scraping in about 2 weeks. I said, okay. I stood up and the chair was full of blood.
Wow.
And I was so terrified. And then I turned around and looked at him, and the look on his face, he almost cried, and he was terrified as well. And he said, do you have any? I said, I am padded to the nines, right along with those little face towels?
Right.
I even had to double those up.
Oh my. Okay.
2 of those.
Okay, I'm sure the guys that are listening to this show right now are really getting this.
Oh, am I being too, is that too much information?
I was just thinking about guys. That's all.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I hope that's not too much information. But I just wanted to basically explain how badly that bleeding was. So I bled through all of the padding and even 2 of the hand towels because it was so bad, the bleeding. He said, we got to get you in the hospital right away. So I said, okay. But he had to schedule the time.
I forgot to expound on how
because they couldn't just get an operation room right away like that.
A team of experts
I
working on my case, but I was amazing.
And that is so frustrating because you know you need something and you just can't get a date.
Exactly.
Did a good job.
And that is crazy. Here's the crazier part, okay? I was bleeding so bad that I had blood clots that were as big as the palm of my hand. Just coming down.
Whoa.
Yes. Just coming down. And I bled so bad that I needed to go to the hospital because one night after I was eating, I wasn't bleeding. So I said, oh, good. I am so glad I'm not bleeding. I stood up and this pain, that it was a sharp pain in my stomach that caused double over. When I doubled
That'll
over,
get your attention.
yeah, oh yeah, it did get my attention. When I doubled over, all I could see was blood gushing from me. And it covered the floor where I was standing. I just screamed and screamed and
That would
screamed.
be a reasonable reaction.
Because I did not know what was going on with me. So
Right, I'm just hearing this, and it makes me want to scream on your behalf, girl. I'm not kidding.
And if you was there, you would be screaming. It looked like somebody was murdered over there where I was standing. That's how much blood was covering the floor.
Okay.
And so I had my mother there, and a friend was there because I had just made Mediterranean chicken, and we had just eaten. I wasn't bleeding that day. I thought I was cool. They ran in the living room from where I was standing, and there was so much blood, and it was just coming and coming and coming. They started screaming. So we were all screaming. And then they
now, at some point, I'm assuming that somebody called 911 or something and got you some help.
After the shock of me screaming and...
I mean, you're still here. That's a real good sign.
I almost wasn't, because I'm going to tell you something that was really crazy. After all of the screaming and we got to each our house together, they called the ambulance. I got in the ambulance. I went to the hospital. Now, in the ambulance, they were surprised about all the blood, okay? I got to the hospital, and they saw all that blood and got scared and left the room, okay? Because when I was in the hospital, I was still bleeding.
Okay, so you were still hemorrhaging once you got there. Wow.
Oh, yes. And they saw the blood clots. Like I said, they were the size of my palm of my hand.
Wow.
And all they did was they literally had to take plastic bags or plastic stuff and cover the floor. And it was everywhere. The whole room smelled like blood. And they didn't know.
Hold on just a second. I think we've lost a couple of people here, but those of you who are still hanging out with us, don't forget, share the link and give us a like, give us those thumbs up. That really helps. I can't overestimate that because that's part of what YouTube looks at for, serving the show online. So help us out there. Give us that like. Go ahead.
Okay. So they got scared because they said they've never saw so much blood before. So the nurses walked out of the room. And to me, it's like, you're nurses. Aren't you trained to do this? This is what shows me, too, that a certificate...
Sounds like you were overriding their comfort level a little bit with the hemorrhaging.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is why, to me, a certificate is nothing but a certificate. Because these were registered nurses. And they saw all this blood and didn't know what to do and ran out of the room. I'm like, but this is your profession,
Yeah.
So what do you want me to do? Because if I could stop it myself, I would, but you're the nurse here and you don't know what to do.
That's when you say, okay, nurses, call a doctor.
Oh, that's what I did too. I was like, get a doctor in here, because obviously you just passed a couple of tests and got a certification, because you're not in here acting like the nurses that you should be. So get a doctor in here. So the doctor came in, and he was like, just lay her down on the bed and pat her up, right? And that's what they did. And this is not a hospital that is a ghetto hospital. This is a very nice, high-class hospital, but there was so much bleeding, they didn't know what to do.
And sometimes, doctors, they're humans. Mm-hmm. They're humans, bottom line.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And so they didn't know what to do. So what happened was they had me there on the hospital bed, padded, until the bleeding stopped, which was kind of crazy. So they said, well, you're only down to a 10 or a 9. You can go home now. And I said, I can go home now. I don't feel comfortable going home because the bleeding stopped.
To a 10 or a 9 and they're going to send you home?
Yeah.
Like, what were they thinking?
I don't know, because that's what I was thinking too.
I'm just kind of flabbergasted and kind of blown away at that.
Yeah. Imagine our surprise as well. Because my family's around me at the hospital, they're concerned and they're thinking, oh, we can get something done here. And they say, send me home. And that's only because they did not know what to do with all that blood.
Right.
So they were like, well, you stopped bleeding now, so you should be fine. I went home, right? Because they told me to go home. I lost so much blood.
Right. I'm waiting for the comma, but.
Huh? Oh, yeah, but. I lost so much blood that I couldn't move. Okay? I went downstairs and couldn't get back up the stairs. I had to crawl up the stairs.
That's amazing.
Yes. And my mother was like, what happened? Because she was around me because I was sick, you know? And so she was like, well, what's going on? And I was like, I have no idea, but I'm dying. I looked right in her face and I said, I'm dying. And the color was out of my face and my skin. I couldn't lift my head. And I said, yeah, you're going to have to realize that you're not going to have your daughter because I'm going to die. And she said,
that's one heck of a moment.
Yeah. And her eyes just turned bloodshot red. And I said, so get me an ambulance so that they can hook me up to an IV because I'm dying. So, and I wasn't even scared. I just knew that this is what it is. And we're just going to have to deal with it.
Right. Hang on just a second. Texas Service Dog Team just joined us and said that she's going to be listening but unable to participate because she is driving. So Texas Service Dog Team, thanks for coming out. Tracy, thanks for hanging out with us. But by all means, drive safely, okay? We want you to be safe. Okay. So go ahead, Misty. We've got about 18 minutes left.
Okay, not a problem. So yes, so I wasn't scared. I'm not a very emotional person. In instances like this, I think about the solution more than the situation. Because if I start to panic, then I'm gonna die because I'm not thinking clearly. And I always think clearly to try to get myself out of situations. Now that first night when I saw all that blood, yes, I was screaming. Okay. Sure. Let's just be real here. But yeah. So I said
that's reasonable. I think anybody would be freaking out a little bit there.
So
a little bit is an understatement.
Exactly. So to make a long story short, what happened was I did go back to the same hospital because they have all my records. And they looked and they saw that I had lost so much blood that I was at a 4.2. Okay. So they were like, wow. You know.
Now, I kind of know what 4.2 means, but can you explain it to folks who don't know?
Yeah, so 4.2 is your hemoglobin level. So that's your blood levels. And it needs to at least be in women a 12 or more. But in me, it was a 4.2. So I was way below where my blood levels should have been in my body. At that point, that is the reason why I was so weak, because I didn't have enough blood in my body to have oxygen going through to my organs. So they said that if I would have went to sleep that night, that I would not have survived. I would have died.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So
that's a tough thing to hear.
Oh yeah, and I told my mother, I said, I'm dying. I said, I am going to die. So get ambulance here so that I can get, the help that I need. So at the hospital, they went ahead and they performed a surgery on me. I believe it's what was that? Ambio. Oh gosh, it was an ambio something where they went through.
Just saying surgery is fine.
Yeah, they went through my artery and they stopped the blood flow to my uterus so I could stop bleeding. but my gynecologist still didn't know what caused it. They said it was bleeding fibroids, right? And they said that surgery would kill the fibroids and that I should not have any more bleeding.
Okay.
Long story short, months later after that surgery, I'm in the bathroom early in the morning, had to go to an appointment, and I start bleeding again.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes. And it was scary because it may not be clots, but it was running like the first time.
Okay,
gotcha. So off to the hospital I go again. And they did tests. And they went up there and looked at my uterus. They did scrapings and everything, only to find out I had uterine cancer.
All that, and they just figured it out?
Yep. Because they thought, exactly, Gayle.
Sorry, I'm just...
I know, blown away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like, I'm speechless. I mean, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they had to do a biopsy every time they went in there to cut or do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they said that I was bleeding too much the first time for them to be able to go up there and take a look at what's going on with the uterus. So they just felt like, exactly, you know? So they just felt like, we'll cut the blood supply off to the uterus, that'll kill the fibroids, and then that's it. But here's the thing, they never actually, they did MRIs and stuff, but they never actually saw fibroids. They saw something on there. So I
really, after, sorry.
No, go ahead, girl, because that's how I felt. Yes.
Wow.
Exactly. So I'm thinking that it was actually the uterine cancer all this time, because one thing that I do is...
Well, that would be logical.
Exactly. Because what I do is I research for myself all the time. So I research, and it says uterine cancer causes a lot of bleeding.
Sure.
So it was uterine cancer the whole time. And I may have had a fibroid in there, possibly, but they should have known this before. And so this time that I went in there and they said that it's uterine cancer, they had to hurry up and give me a surgery. So I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks. And they did a robotic surgery.
And 2 weeks is a humdinger of a hospital stay. I mean, that's not chump change.
No, I was ready to get out of there. And especially since before, when I was bleeding off and on, I was going back and forth to the hospital. They're sticking me with needles because they say my veins are too small. So I felt like a pincushion. It was just awful. And when they did the robotic surgery and pulled my uterus out, they said that that uterus was ready to explode inside of my body because it was bleeding itself, they said. It was so bad, it was bleeding itself. And they said...
Well, that tells you your theory is accurate, that it was the fibroids the whole time.
It was the cancer, yes, because they said that it was what, stage
sure, not fibroids. Sorry.
No, that's okay. They said that it was stage 1, but when they were looking at it, they said it was stage 3 turning into stage 4, and that it was the cancer was starting to go out of my uterus, and it would have been through my whole body within a month or two's time.
Okay, just to let you know, Misty, we got about 9 minutes.
Okay, no problem. So that's basically my overcoming the obstacle story, because I overcame being homeless, being bullied, depression, what seemed to be fibroids, and uterine cancer, and almost dying, because I almost died in that hospital twice. Because, long story short, I also had a kidney stone that they had to do our operation on before they took out my uterus. Yes.
No.
It was awful.
It's an injury.
Yes. So what they did was they put me under anesthesia to get the kidney stone out. And then they went ahead 2 days later and put me under anesthesia again to do the surgery to get the uterus out. That almost killed me. That was the second time because
because you're so close together with the surgeries there.
Mm-hmm. Because what happened was I came out that day and I was fine. Later that night, my blood pressure shot up to 200 over 198, and I was going into cardiac arrest. I had shallow breathing, and I looked at my mother again, and I said, I'm dying. I said, but I'm not scared because they'll either help me and I will get over it, or I'll die and I won't know I'm suffering. But don't worry, I'm not scared.
Wow. Yep. And your mom must have been kind of shell-shocked by this time.
Oh, yeah. She was an emotional wreck. I was calmer than her and I was dying. And it's different when you feel the life coming out of your body. It's a horrible feeling because I literally felt the life coming out of my body. I was struggling to breathe. I was losing consciousness. The nurses were coming in there working on me, and I couldn't even open my eyes. And I pulled through it all. And I think that a lot of strength, inner strength, and then the help from my family is what really pulled me through. If you're not a strong person, then a lot of the things and the obstacles that you will go through in life will keep you down because you won't be able to deal with the pressure.
You animals.
I looked at death in the face twice, and I wasn't afraid. I just accepted that is what it is. And sometimes when you
accept it down and you won.
Exactly. Sometimes when you accept the situation that you're in, it makes you a stronger person. And 9 times out of 10, you're able to survive the situation.
I think so too. But now, speaking of survival, let me just do a recap here. So you struggled with homelessness, bullying, depression, inadequate health care, negative people and negative thoughts around you, and you still were able to climb out of it.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, because I'm a fighter. And one thing that I will not do is I will not surrender to anything. So if I'm going through any type of situation, I'm going to fight my way out of it. And if I can't, I will go down in history knowing that I was a fighter and I fought to my last breath. And that's what I told my mother.
No white flags raised for you.
Huh?
No white flags of surrender for you, just the bugle of the battle cry.
Exactly. So if I go down or if I pass away tomorrow, I'll pass away having fought with my last breath. That's just the kind of person that I am.
Incredible. We're going to have you back on because any one of those things that you just talked about can be a show of itself because there's so much in your life that is empowering, positive, and, just freaking amazing. I'm just going to say that you were able to do all this.
Thank you. I hope I didn't bore you guys with this because there's a lot.
Oh no. No boredom. Tell me real quick about your channel.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gayle.
I've got about 4 minutes left.
Okay. Well, my channel is basically, I started off with just wanting to just express myself as an individual. If anybody came across my channel, they would just get a little bit of who Misty is. But now I really want to, and this is the original idea that I wanted for my channel, was to be empowering towards women in general, but big women, because I'm a big woman. And a lot of times in society, exactly, right?
My tagline on this is to be bold and be bodacious, and us bodacious girls, we got it.
Exactly. Yes, we do.
We are.
We have a lot to offer. And a lot of times society, they feel as if we are second-class citizens. because we're plus size or we don't fit into the image that people think we should. So my channel is basically about empowering big women and letting them know that we're here to stay. We do care about our health. We are trying to improve ourselves, but while we're trying to improve ourselves, we need to have just as much respect as the average size woman, and we are going to get that respect. We demand it.
Absolutely. And see, the size affects your outlook on life. It affects how you deal with life because you've got more negative emotions and negative energy to just put up with on a daily basis. And it affects even our health care and how much physicians listen to us.
Exactly, because the first
that's been my experience anyway.
No, you're absolutely right. Because you can go into the doctor's office and say you have a headache, and they'll say, "Yeah, that's because you're obese or morbidly obese,
right?
So you're big." And you're like, "Wow," but you're not thinking about what could have caused the headache. You're just saying, "I'm big and I must have high blood pressure." And let me just add one thing because I know we're short on time. But a lot of times the doctors are quite surprised when they take my blood pressure and they take my sugar that I do not have high blood pressure or diabetes. And I have them ask me a lot, why is that? That's a stereotype that you put on big women. It's not necessarily correct that we all have to have health issues.
I agree.
Exactly. I don't have
and that's another show too. We just do a whole series on Misty. We just call it a Misty series.
I do have a Keeping It Real with the BG series, and it breaks down each of them. But all
right, now Misty, real quick, because I just got 2 minutes. I've got some serious questions that I need to ask you. Okay, Rice Krispies or Cheerios?
Rice Krispies, baby.
Okay. Cherry Coke or lemonade?
Lemonade.
Well, you're in the South. I should have said Diet Cherry Coke or sweet tea.
Oh, I like tea, but it's got to be without the sugar.
Okay. We'll say unsweet then.
Yes.
Okay. And the other thing is, if you were going to go skydiving, where would you go?
Oh, goodness. Well, I wouldn't skydive, but if I had to, I'd skydive over China.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
Because I always wanted to visit China, so might as well skydive over there, right?
Right, it sounds great. See, I was thinking you'd say like Western North Carolina or Arizona or the beach, land on the shore. Wow, China would be amazing.
Yeah, I'd land on the Great Wall of China. How about that?
Okay, there you go. All right. Well, Misty, thank you for being on the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and just supporting the channel. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and tell people because we want this channel to be a success, and it's not going to be a success without your involvement. So, social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media that you're on that you want to share it with, you go. Okay? Misty, last thoughts?
I just want to.
Anything else you want to say?
Yes, I just want to thank you so much, Gayle, for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure, and I've had so much fun. And thank you, everybody, for listening to my story and for you giving me a chance to put my story out there.
I just appreciate you sharing it. Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, thanks, everybody, for watching. Now, I want you all to, in addition to sharing and liking, go outside, be bold, be bodacious, grab life, and overcome those obstacles because your future is waiting. Don't put it off. Okay. Thanks, Misty.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.